TGIF, it is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy for another NBA First Look podcast. And we're going to do a showdown slate. We got one game tonight on tap, win or go home. We have the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. It should be a good one here. They last played on May 16th, where Golden State Warriors won 113-101. I think we could probably see something similar to that. We should see Steph just go completely off. But again, we'll break down. I'm going to go DraftKings and Fanduel, break down both of them, kind of give you the scenarios on how I see fit, talk about some injury news and whatnot. But if you like these videos, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, and let's just dive right into this and talk about this showdown slate. All right, we'll start with DraftKings first, then we'll move over to Fanduel. Again, I'll talk about some lineup construction, kind of how I see things going here. And then the injuries news that we have for tonight. The big one is Kelly Oubre Jr. He is questionable. If he does play, it's going to kind of change things a little bit here. If we go back and look at the game logs and the game flow, the way it on that game on the 16th, Steve Kerr went with the 8-man rotation. And again, we didn't have Kelly Oubre Jr. in this game either. So we could probably see something similar to that if he is out. We'll probably still see Bazemore start. He saw 27 minutes, really had a bad game. 2 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. And we saw a lot of Jordan Poole off the bench with 24 minutes, and he went 15, 3, and 1. So I think Jordan, we really need the news on Kelly Oubre Jr. because if he is out, I'm going to have about all the Jordan Poole I can get over there on FanDuel. So when we get there, but again, one thing we can look at too is Steph Curry and Joe Val are going to be the top 2 scorers here. So if I'm running a captain, it is one of them. Steph Curry is 17-1 on DraftKings. Joe Val is 15K. And again, if we go back and look at that game where it's very similar, where, you know, these guys are going to play a ton of minutes. Memphis, again, lost by 12. They basically had a 9-man rotation where Golden State only had an 8-man rotation. Again, that could change if Kelly Oubre Jr. does come back. But in that game on the 16th, Joe Val put up really strong numbers, put up 53 fantasy points here. I'm sorry, let me look at he put up 53 DraftKings points here on the 16th, and then Steph Curry just put up an ungodly stat number, 46, 7, and 9 for 73 fantasy points. And again, he played 40 minutes. I think we're going to see something. If it's a close game, it's Steph. We all know where the scoring is going to go. It's going to be Steph. It's going to be Wiggins and Draymond Green, and then Jordan Poole off the bench if no Kelly Oubre Jr. Draymond Green went 14, 8, and 9, and Andrew Wiggins went 21 and 10 with 0 assists. Just going to be the scoring load here. So we can kind of pinpoint where things are going to go. Let's build this without, let's say if Kelly Oubre Jr. is out, I'm going to throw Steph Curry at the captain. I think you're either throwing him or Joe Val. If you think Curry struggles a little bit shooting, I would go Joe Val because they have nobody that can match up with him at all whatsoever. So let's just build a Steph Curry here, and say he's going to be the high scorer here. We'll throw in Joe Val. And the next one I'm going to throw in might be a little bit different here, but I think we're going to go down to Kevon Looney, 4,600. If you see last time on the 16th, he played him, put up 23 fantasy points in 31 minutes. I think they're going to need big minutes out of him. They don't have anybody big that can handle Joe Val, and Kevon Looney is the closest to that type. So there's games where I think, he's going to get run off the court, and there's other games where I think he's going to have to play a ton of minutes. This is one of the games where I think he's going to have to play a ton of minutes. So we're going to slide Kevon Looney in there at 4,600. We'll come down and look at, some of these other plays down here in the cheap range. Mulder did see 14 minutes, but he didn't do anything with them. He's 2,200. He'd be one of the cheap guys I would look at. Again, did not do well at all in this game against Memphis. He shot 0 for 2. Just kind of took up some space, put up 4 fantasy points. So if we're looking at something cheap that actually got some playing time, him. And Grayson Allen, again, was out this game. I don't know how many minutes we're going to see. If we saw him on the 19th against the Spurs, he only played 5 minutes, went negative 0.5 fantasy points. So I don't think it's a spot they're going to run him out there a ton. just coming off injury for so long. I just don't see it. I still think they're going to go, Dylan Brooks and Kyle Anderson, and they got enough guys, and Bain's still going to see some looks here. So Mulder would be the only guy at 2,200 I look at here. Again, this is a win or go home game. I don't think, these guys are going to play down here. So Mulder would be the cheapest guy. I would take all these other guys out of the pool. If you wanted to take a shot at Grayson Allen and think he's getting run, I don't think he's going to get any run personally, so I wouldn't run him out there. In this game as well, we didn't really see any run out of Tillman. Melton at 4,200 did see some run in that game. He saw 21 minutes, only put up 4 and 2. But again, if we're going to look for a cheap guy, he's a guy that we know that can get it going off the bench as well. So I don't mind it looking a little Melton off the bench, in the past that we've seen it. So he'd be the next guy I look at. Tillman didn't see any run. He saw 2 minutes in the second quarter. When he came in for Jaren Jackson a little bit, I don't think you're going to see any run there. Again, I think for the minutes wise, it's Mulder, it's Melton. And then if you want to come up and, look a little Clark, he played 14 minutes, only put up in 2 and 1. But again, we're starting to get up to the point where I don't really love it. So let's build a lineup where we throw in Mulder here and say that Kelly Oubre Jr. is out. I think if Kelly Oubre Jr. plays, it's going to change the dynamic when it comes to Bazemore, Poole, and those guys. But let's put a Mulder lineup here. We got 8,050 left. We can throw a Draymond Green in here. We got 7,300 left. You're probably looking right here at Jaren Jackson Jr., and that's probably going to be the ultimate build if you're building a Mulder lineup. If we don't go that route and we come down here, again, I love Poole. If we don't have Oubre Jr., I think the next way I would go is just Jordan Poole. Just the minutes he got 25 minutes in Memphis last time, put up 24 fantasy points. He's just instant offense off the bench. We've seen it all year. And I think he'll continue to run this role as the scorer in that second unit, with Bazemore starting. It's basically going to be him, Toscano Anderson are the two guys that get most of the minutes. So if we throw in, Jordan Poole here and we got 4,100 left, this is where you're probably coming in. Again, we're in a horrible situation when it comes to Grayson Allen. If we got this lineup, maybe this is where we see if we throw Joval up at top. And Joval gives us a 60 burger, and Curry still puts up, around the same 65 or something. That leaves us 4,800 left. Then we can maybe get up to Melton, and I like that a little bit better. A guy that actually can get us some points. So I don't mind this build if you want Joval, Curry, Looney, Poole, Draymond Green, and then Melton on the other side. I kind of like that build a lot, actually, because I still think in the captain, if you're going to throw a cheap guy up there, I always say that cheap guy better get me 30 fantasy points if I want to fit all these other guys in. But I just don't. The scoring is so, one-sided here that, that we know it's going to be Joval. We know it's going to be Curry. Nobody else came close on these teams last time, and I don't see it here either. Even John Morant, he put up 16, 3, and 9. Dylan Brooks, 18, 2, and 6. If we don't run Draymond Green out here and we say we run Looney and Poole with Curry up top, we got 6,450 left. I think we can do something like this where we maybe look at, we can go Kyle Anderson and then maybe Bazemore. Bazemore didn't have a great game at all. But that's a way you can go. Or you can come down here to, again, Toscano Anderson. Leave some money. Don't be afraid to leave some money on the table here. So maybe this is a Kyle Anderson, Toscano Anderson build. I don't mind this at all if you're getting off of Draymond with Curry up top. I think that's the kind of way I would go. If we go back and say, hey, okay, Kelly Oubre Jr. is going to play. I don't know how many minutes he would play. If we look at Kelly Oubre Jr., he's 6K. He hasn't played since April 27th. Do you think they're going to give him major run regardless in a win or go home game? I don't think so. I wouldn't run him out a ton of minutes. I think all it's going to do is if they do play him, it's just going to hurt some of these minutes. Are they going to run Bazemore in that second unit, or are they going to run Jordan Poole? I think Jordan Poole's the better guy than Bazemore. Bazemore's just a guy to go out there, hit some shots in that first unit. So I don't know what they'll do. I don't think Kelly Oubre Jr. is going to be back this game. I think Golden State wins this game, and then he comes back in the playoffs and gets in there. But I just don't think he's going to play. And if he does at 6K, I don't like it. I would still rather go down to Jordan Poole. I still think he's going to get more run. So even if he does come back, I think all it would do is get me more off Bazemore than anything. And so I would just swap out, Bazemore and not play him at all. And I don't think I'd play Kelly Oubre Jr. at 6K either. I think I would just cross them both out of my lineups, and I would still stick to the Jordan Pooles and stuff like that. So again, one of my favorite lineup builds is, again, Curry up top, Joe Val. We'll go Kevon Looney because they need that big against Joe Val. Jordan Poole off the bench, Toscano Anderson off the bench. Again, he played 27 minutes in that, went 9-4-1. But again, he can get there as well. And then you can go up to, I wish we had 100 more to go, Jaren Jackson Jr., but even Kyle Anderson, he ended up playing 30 minutes, went 10-5-4. He kind of felt, slow-mo kind of fills up the stat sheet a little bit, so I don't mind him. But again, I wish we had a little bit more to get up to who we wanted here. Bane played 30 minutes in that game on the 16th. He only went up 8 points, 0 rebounds, 1 assist in 30 minutes. So he's a guy you can take a shot at if you wanted to go like, say, Bane, no Toscano Anderson, and then come up to like a Dylan Brooks. I don't mind that as well. That's another way you can kind of go about things as well. But I think the locks for me on DraftKings are going to be Curry, Valanciunas, and then either Kevon Looney or Poole, or if you want to lock all 4 of them in and just run these last 2 around, I think that's a way to go. Maybe Curry at the captain, lock these in and let it rip with the Poole. But make sure you take a lot of these guys out. Just if you're going to do cheap guys, I told you, Mulder's the guy. It may be Grayson Allen, but I don't think they're going to play him a ton. Melton would be the next guy. And then, Clark in their way up here. But that's one way to do it. And I think that's a good, profitable way to play this slate. Let's move on over to FanDuel real quick. Again, FanDuel's a little bit different. You got to put guys in the MVP, star, and pro slot with 2 utility slots. Again, I think this is very similar to it was yesterday when we talked about either putting Westbrook or Sabonis up top. Westbrook ended up going off and being that MVP that you wanted. So I think this is a very similar situation. I think if you're building a cash lineup, it is definitely Curry up top. Your star is going to be Joe Val. If you want to flip-flop these in tournaments to be different, he's going to be way less owned than Steph Curry. But we know Curry's going to play a ton of minutes, going to score a ton, going to do everything he can to get to the next round here. So I think this is basically the scenario that we're going to look at here. And then it's figuring out these last 3 slots. So we got 10-1 left, with Steph Curry being 15K, Joe Val being 14.5. And then we can, like I talked about, one guy that we saw, and I talked about on DraftKings, is Jordan Poole is a lock at 7.5. If there's no Kelly Oubre Jr., even if there is, I think he's still going to play a ton. Jordan Poole at 7.5 is a lock. Now, not a lot of people are going to play him at pro, just because I completely understand that. He put up 15, 3, and 1 in 25 minutes against these guys. I don't think you need to run him at pro, but you would be way different if you did. But in the utility slot, if you throw him, you got 11.5 left. So you can play basically whoever you want to. So in pro, you decide, hey, well, who's the next guy I want? Well, I think, if we have no Kelly Oubre Jr., Wiggins put up 21 and 10 in 38 minutes here. So I think we're going to see Wiggins would be a good guy I would look at here. Dylan Brooks can get hot. John Morant, 2 guys that I also look at. And then again, Draymond Green, of course, at 13K. So all these guys I think are viable. I think Green, Morant, Brooks, and Wiggins, I would just rotate these guys around pro. Maybe you lock in Curry and Joe Val like this, and then if you run 150 lineups, lock these guys in like this, run 75 with these 3 locked in like this, and then flip it to the other with Joe Val up top and Curry down here. Or if you don't want to be a 50-50, you want 75-25, whatever you want, maybe run 100 lineups like this and 50 the other way. But again, if we're going to throw this, let's throw Draymond Green up here. We got 10K left. Again, I prefer Toscano Anderson down here. Like I told you about, Kevon Looney's going to play a ton of minutes because they have to go up against Joe Val at 8.5. There's a lot of ways to go here. A lot of ways you can leave salary on the table as well. So I have no problem if you want to throw Kevon Looney down here. I wouldn't get cute on FanDuel. We just have enough salary. Jordan Poole opens up everything. You don't need to come down here to any of these guys. You don't. To me, you don't need to come down to Mulder at all. You don't need to come down to Melton at all. You just have all the salary that you need. So there's no reason to go these guys, in my opinion. Bane, you don't need to. You have everything you need right here in Jordan Poole. So you throw him in there, and then it's just rotating these guys around, Like Tillman. I don't want him at 9K. cross his ass off. I don't want him. Looney's going to get more run than Tillman's going to see. It's just not going to happen. So Bazemore at 10K, I would much rather have Toscano Anderson than Bazemore. But you could just rotate these guys through. Maybe Bazemore gets hot and scores a ton. It could happen. But a build like this where you have Draymond up here, I'm probably looking at Toscano Anderson. And this is probably going to be a super popular build because it uses every bit of your salary. You know, Curry, Joe Val, Draymond Green, Poole, Toscano Anderson. It's going to use all your salary. If another way, if you want to go about this, though, if you want to say, hey, let's go down to draw Morant, 10-5, and then you have 10-5 left, then Jaren Jackson Jr., this is going to be another popular build. But again, the way you get different is just this pro, you know, finding, you know, if say Jordan Poole goes off, something happens to Steph Curry, you know, he gets in foul trouble or whatever it is, and Jordan Poole comes in, you know, and, you know, gets hot, then maybe it's a Joval up in MVP, Curry at star. Or you could even do it this way, and then Poole at pro, just to be completely different, you know, because no one's going to be doing that. Everyone's going to be doing these guys like Green, Morant, Brooks, Wiggins, which I understand. And again, don't be afraid to leave salary on the table. If you want to put Wiggins up here and you got 11-5 left, you know, Kyle Anderson's fine. Jaren Jackson's fine. You'd leave 1,000 on the table, you know. I don't think I would come down to Toscano Anderson here in terms if you got Kyle Anderson or Jaren Jackson Jr. I think they're way more likely to outscore Toscano Anderson. But I'm just saying, don't be afraid to leave salary on the table. Especially, I'm going to lock in Jordan Poole in 100% of my lineups at that price tag, especially if we get Kelly Oubre Jr. out. So to me, it's a pretty, you know, clear-cut slate here. I think there's going to be a lot of ties on FanDuel. Again, the pro spot is where you got to get different. We saw it last night, you know, with kind of the blowout that happened. We saw, you know, Gafford kind of go off and was in that pro slot that won. So it could be a similar thing to Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole could be your guy that comes in and just scores a ton if they blow him out. You know, but that's going to be on the heels of Steph Curry, and I think he'd still be the scorer. So this is how I lay it out. Again, if you like this video, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel. We'll have the cheat sheets going for this. I'm going to knock them out this morning. And then, yeah, playoffs start tomorrow. It's got 4 games on tap on Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to ride this thing for the next 2 months. So with that, I will see you on the flip side. It's Cash Cake. Deuces.